All right, guys. So last night I was out having some fun, right, at various venues, bars, breweries, stuff like that, right? Being a young person, okay. And I had this very interesting conversation with this owner of a bar in regards to Biden's unemployment benefits, and that conversation really, really, really kind of opened my eyes to the unintended consequences of these extended slash enhanced unemployment benefits that is not only just affecting these businesses, but it's also affecting the workers, the mental health of these workers. And to be quite honest with you guys, I mean, this effect that it may be having on workers who choose to actually go to work is a conversation that needs to be had, because I think it kind of defeats the left's core argument about how, these unemployment benefits are going to be better because workers are going to be treated better, right? They're going to get paid more for what they're doing. And I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, even if you take inflation out of it. So I want to talk about this and give you guys a perspective on this, even though it is anecdotal, but this is something I kept seeing the whole night that really, really, really made me think hard about this. So let's start with this, right? Last night was at this bar, and the bar is supposed to close at 2:00. 12:30 comes around, and you see people kind of coming out, management coming out, making people clean up, right? Making people kind of put their stuff up and say, hey, we're closing, right? So come to find out, they were actually closing at 1. Now, this is a Saturday night. Usually in North Carolina, bars, breweries, they close at like 2, right? 2 a.m. is when things close. So them closing an hour early was interesting, right? Especially on a Saturday night. So the manager came over, and we started talking to the manager, and he said, yes, we're closing the bar at 1, and we have to close down at 1 because our workers literally can't work anymore, right? We don't have the staff needed to facilitate keeping our business open to 2 a.m. because our workers are literally overworked. So what he's saying is that the people that are choosing to work, because there's a lack of people that actually want to work, those people are being extremely overworked, right? They may be getting paid more, but they're being extremely overworked to the point where they're having trouble keeping people, because quite honestly, it's easier to get fired and collect unemployment benefits, right, to get paid, than it is to continue to work under the conditions where you have to be short-staffed and you have to work long hours because there's literally nobody else that can do the job. So these businesses, in order to try to help the mental health of their workers, have closed their businesses down an hour early. They can't stay open as long, right? And this is something that not only happened at that bar, that also happened at numerous other places that I went to, in which they stopped letting people in at 1 a.m. And the bouncer specifically was like, yeah, we can't because our workers are overworked, right? We can't let more people in because we don't have the staff to maintain it. So therefore, we have to turn away business. Okay? So guys, businesses, right? There are businesses that are turning away customers because their staff literally can't handle it, because they can't hire people. And I asked him directly, I said, well, why do you think that, this is happening? People don't want to work. And he straight up said it's because the government is paying them to stay home, right? The government is paying them to stay home. And he talked about, being a manager of, this bar and this small business. And he was talking about how if you know that for your staff budget, you can afford to pay $25, right, for a whole hour for staff, then you have to do the math and figure out, okay, maybe you can get 2 workers for $8 an hour, right? And then maybe you can get a manager for $9 an hour, okay? You can have more people on staff. However, he said that has changed because now there's this expectation that if you're going to get a job, right, if you're going to hire somebody, you have to pay them $15 an hour. So now all of a sudden, he's saying as a business, that $25 an hour, we only can split that between 1 or 2 people at most, right? Because people expect to be paid more. So what happens is that now instead of hiring 3 people, they can only hire 2 people, right? So now with only two people, those two people, even though they're getting paid more money, they're actually having to work more and take on more responsibility for the work that they're doing, right? So it's almost like, yes, you're getting a wage increase, but the amount of stress and work that comes with that wage increase is going to go up as well because you're understaffed. You have to be more productive, right, as an individual, okay? And when he outlined that, it made that clear to me and started to talk about that really was one of those things that I thought about, and I was like, yeah, nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about how those who are choosing to work rather than to stay home are being screwed over, right? Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're being paid, but they're being screwed over in the sense that because everybody expects to be paid $15 an hour now, that means if you choose to work instead of collect government benefits, you're going to be expected to do the work of two people, right? And you might not necessarily be compensated for that, right? You might be paid more, but is that payment worth the amount of stress and extra responsibilities and duties that you have to take on as one of the few people who actually wants to work right now? Okay, is it worth it? I would say that if you look at the job numbers, right, and if you speak to a lot of these small business owners, I would say a lot of workers probably say it's not worth it, right? Even if there is opportunity to get paid $15 an hour, because you're going to have to take on more responsibility because you're getting paid at $15 an hour, a lot of people are just saying, you know what? $15 an hour is still not enough considering the amount of money that I could make sitting at home collecting from the government versus going into, some traditionally low wage job, and getting worked to death, right? Because the business is understaffed, right? So yeah, that was a pretty interesting conversation I was having with that manager. Now, again, remember guys, I had seen this multiple places last night, multiple places where it was just like, we have to shut down. Not because there's not enough business. It's because we just don't have people that want to work, right? We just don't have people that want to work. Okay. And it's just funny to me because, again, the left is all about trying to prevent the exploitation of the worker, right? They hate the capitalist because they say that the capitalist is trying to exploit the worker, right? They're exploiting the worker. Capitalism is exploitation. It's funny because I can make the argument that the government is exploiting the worker now, those who choose to work, by paying those who don't want to work, right? I can make the argument that the government is now exploiting people, right? Not the business owners, the government, because the government is forcing business owners to artificially raise their wages regardless of whether they can sustain it economically or not, which is leading to them making some hard decisions that is putting stress on those who do want to work, right? And it's also making it easier for those who really don't want to work to just quit, right? To try to get fired and to collect unemployment benefits. Now, what's also interesting, and I just gotta be fair here, is that that same manager also, again, was desperate to hire people, right? Desperate to hire people, okay? And he was so desperate that he basically offered my friend a job as a hostess, working $20 an hour, right? He was basically like, hey, can I get your number? Can we meet up on Tuesday to talk about it? To go over stuff, I'll pay you $20 an hour. Please work, right? Please work. $20 an hour to be a hostess at a bar. $20 an hour. So with that being said, guys, I must say, those people who are sitting at home deciding to collect government benefits instead of going out and getting a job during this golden period of employment, right, in which you're being paid a king's ransom just to sign up and work for jobs that traditionally pay low wages, that's gonna hurt a lot of people. Because what happens, guys, is that American big business and capitalism always wins, right? And we know that the Biden administration and Democrats, they're not really against illegal immigration, right? And how do you get a cheap labor force when your domestic labor force doesn't want to work, right? Because they all want to be paid $15 an hour. You hire those who are going to be willing to work for less, right? AKA illegal immigrants, right? And guess what the Democrats are trying to do for these illegal immigrants? They're trying to grant them amnesty, right? Grant them amnesty, make them legal. And when they're legal, you think that these people are going to have issues working for $7.25 an hour? No, they're not. They're going to be more than happy to work above the table and to say, you know what, I'll take $7.25. And what do you think the business owner is going to do? The business owner is going to say, yeah, like I'll hire you for $7.25. And they're probably going to get somebody that's going to be willing to work a lot harder, that's going to be willing to deal with a lot more stress. Because at the end of the day, there a lot of these people send their monies back to their home countries. Even making $7.25 an hour, that's still like sending, again, a small king's ransom back home to a foreign country. So my warning to those people who are still refusing to work and would rather collect government benefits rather than work right now, they're missing out on opportunities, man. Because again, like in the conversation I was having with the manager, he was saying this is a prime opportunity. Right? For those people who claim that there is no opportunity or they're lacking opportunity to find work or to get paid their fair share or whatever, this is your opportunity, man, to get into a job, to get into a company, to prove yourself and to show that, hey, you know what? I'm willing to put in the work, right? This is your opportunity. Or else, if you don't, my fear is that once this period is over, you're going to find yourself replaced by the new Democrat voting base. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.